Hi everyone, welcome to my poster. I am Shubham Chandak and today I will talk about lossy compression of nanopore raw signal data. This is joint work with Kedar Tatwavadi, Srivatsan Sridhar and Saki Weisman from Stanford University. So let's look at the motivation first. So as you might know, nanopore sequencing is being adopted more and more due to its various nice properties, which you can see here. And the way nanopore sequencing works is that the DNA sequence or the RNA sequence goes through a pore, and the current going across the pore is measured, which varies according to the particular sequence. And that forms the raw data, which looks something like this. So you'll see a lot of structure, but you also see a lot of noise in the data, right? And this data is very, very hard to store because it's so high dimensional. Storing this raw signal data for a 30x human sequencing experiment needs as much as 1 terabyte of storage. And this is after using the best lossless compressor, which is VBZ in this case. So you might ask, okay, but do we need to store this raw signal data, right? Because the raw signal data is usually used with a base caller and you get a base sequence, and then you perform alignment or you perform consensus or assembly. So something on the base sequence. So the question arises, do we need to store this data? And unfortunately, today the answer is yes. And why is that? Because you need to retain the raw signal to allow reanalysis with future base callers and other tools. So over the past couple of years, the base caller, which converts the raw signal into the base sequence, accuracy has improved drastically. So it went from like 15% to close to 5% today. And therefore, if you threw away your raw signal data, you could not make use of these improvements in the base caller. So therefore, right now it's important to store this raw signal. But is there a way where you can store the raw signal, but you don't store the noise in the data? So you still save on the space while capturing all the useful properties in the raw signal. And for that, we introduce, so for that, we will use lossy compression, which is a standard technique in information theory, often used in image compression and video compression. So here the idea is you have a data sequence. So in this case, it's a time series like a raw signal data. You compress it into some bits. And when you decompress this, so the original sequence was x1, x2, ... xn, but the new sequence is not exactly the same. So it's different from gzip, which will produce the exact same sequence after you decompress, right? But it's not like this sequence can be anything. So in our case, we will focus on something called maximum absolute error. So we will work with lossy compressors that guarantee that the maximum deviation between the original and the reconstructed signal at any time point is at most epsilon. So epsilon is a very small number, right? And one way to achieve this, a very simple way, is just to reduce the resolution in the data. So if you reduce the resolution by something, then you are sure that, okay, let's say you round the values. So then you are sure that, okay, the maximum deviation can be at most some epsilon, right? But now the question arises, if we want to use this for nanopore data, how do we choose epsilon? And we don't, at the end of the day, we don't care about satisfying this property. What we care about is that any lossy compression should not affect the performance of the base caller or the aligner or the consensus tools, right? So with that in mind, we look at our evaluation pipeline. So what does it look like? So we start with the raw signal data. We compress it losslessly with VBZ, which is the best lossless compressor, and we record the size. We also lossily compress it with two already existing standard tools with a range of those epsilon parameters. So like very less lossy to very highly lossy, right? And we get the original raw signal from the original data, and we also get this reconstructed raw signal, which is slightly different from the original data. And now we take these raw signals and we perform base calling, and we compute the accuracy of the base calling. And we use 3 different base callers here, and I will explain why we use multiple tools later. And then using this base called reads, we can then, for example, perform consensus, right? And consensus is again usually a multi-stage process. And then we can evaluate the accuracy of the consensus. So consensus is just, you take a data which has some high coverage, and then you try to, basically consensus is like an averaging operation where you try to cancel out the errors in the base calling to get a much more refined final sequence, right? So in our experiments, we had 4 data sets with a very high quality ground truth so that we could actually compute the accuracy. We had 3 bacterial and 1 human data set. And we tested a combination of multiple data sets, Bayes collars, subsampling coverage, assembly tools, and so on. And the idea here of trying different combinations is that we become more confident that the lossy compression is not leading to loss of any useful information. It is just leading to removal of noise, and which is important if we want to adopt lossy compression, right? So with that in mind, we can look at the results. So first we can look at the Bayes calling accuracy versus the compressed size. So the x-axis is the compressed size, where 1 represents the lossless compression, and y-axis is the Bayes call identity. And the 3 colors represent 3 different Bayes collars. We will focus on the blue one, which is GupPy high accuracy Bayes collar, which is a very widely used Bayes collar, right? And what do we see? So yeah, so the circles and crosses are the different lossy compressors we use. That's not very important now. So we can look at as we go from right to left, so which is reducing the compressed size. So we are doing more and more lossy compression. The size reduces, but the Bayes calling accuracy also drops. So that's expected, right? Because if you remove a lot of information, you are going to lose the accuracy. But the interesting thing is that even when you reduce the size by 35%, you are still very close to the original accuracy, basically the same point. So which says that you can achieve significant reduction without losing accuracy. And similarly, we can look at consensus accuracy. So if you now compare the y-axis for the consensus and Bayes call accuracy, you will see consensus accuracy is much higher because you are using high coverage data now. And so it's close to 99.9% now. And here, interestingly, you can reduce the size even further. So you can get to 50% reduction over the original size without losing the consensus accuracy. And this is because consensus is able to actually fix a lot of errors that the lossy compression might cause. So that's why the accuracy is preserved even further, right? So this suggests that we can achieve 35 to 50% reduction over the best lossless compression with negligible loss in accuracy. And here we just saw 1 data set, but this is consistent across a variety of data set coverage, downstream applications, and so on. And all the data, scripts, plots, everything is available on GitHub if you want to take a look. Right, and this work was published last year in Bioinformatics if you want to go into further detail. With that, I would like to thank you for attending this poster session. And please feel free to ask any questions on the portal. Thank you.